This past weekend, I hosted a virtual retreat for over 90 people. And during the retreat, we had several presentations. One of those presentations was conducted by Shirley Heinemann, who showed us how to use technology to improve our quiltings. Here's her presentation, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, everyone. It's Shirley. And just a little bit about myself. I'm an old quilter, an old sewer. And I started into quilting, trying to use up all my garment fabrics that I had left over from my garment sewing days. And first of all, I'd like to thank Stephen for allowing me to share my brain with everyone. And the topic is technology in quilting. And made a few notes here. So one is Zoom meetings have really brought us to a point in quilting where we can be with friends and everyone, even with our age and our health and everything. And one thing I wanted to tell you about are with technology in quilting, we have some 4-letter words. And if you don't mind, one of them starts with F and the other one starts with S. And those 4-letter words are going to take us to many places. The first 4-letter word that starts with F is free. And I work with everything free. The other one is sale. And the sale word to me means that I can't afford it even when it's on sale. The other thing is I've done a whole bunch of crafts and everything. And I found that each device and each program that is out there, or each app or whatever that we're working with in quilting, depends on the device you're using. I don't use patterns. I don't use specialty rulers. I'm into FPP really, really big right now, because I find that because I can't afford all the nice fabrics and everything, and I'm using up scraps, is I found ways with a particular software that really wasn't designed for quilting, but I kind of adapted it to make it work for me. And hopefully some of you might find that these things interesting. One of them is, one of my pet peeves is freezer paper. And I use freezer paper for just about everything. And the pet peeve I have about that is that I've heard so many people say that freezer paper has wax coating, but it doesn't. Freezer paper has a plastic coating, and that's what makes it stick to the fabric. And so now I'm going to get right into my things here. And right now you should be able to see on your screen the Silhouette Studio software.
There you
Okay. There. Okay. So what you'd see on there is a file that I have here that's called Stephen's Retreat. And I've put some of the things in here that I'm going to be showing you. So I'm just going to minimize that and I'll bring up the software that I'm using. Pardon me. The software that I'm using is from silhouetteamerica.com. It's designed for a vinyl cutter, paper cutter, and everything like that. And some of the ones you may have heard is Cameo. There's a Cameo, there's Scan and Cut, and also Cricut. I found that Silhouette was my best option because of what it involves. I know EQ8 is out there. There's lots of quilting apps out there that you can download. But again, we come back to that free word. And a lot of times you'll download an app and it's free until you want to do something different, and then you have to pay. With Silhouette Studio, it's a program that you don't need to be connected to the internet unless you want to buy something off of the site. And let's see, it also does 3D printing, stamps, and everything like that. They have lots of free designs. Presently, the basic software is free. The software, if you wish to upgrade, and if you do have Silhouette Studio, what you can do is upgrade, and I suggest you upgrade to the business edition. Right now, business edition for this software is only $99.99. They did have it on sale for 50% off last 2 weeks. I think it was ago that they had it. It is an absolutely amazing software. So now I'm going to bring up this. And over top here, you should see the file that I've made for Stephen's retreat. So in order for me to get things straight in my brain, because I do not work well with colors and putting them into certain places. So I have a bundle of fabrics, and it's called Seaside. And this is where my fabrics are. So what I did was I took the bundle of fat quarters and I scanned them into my computer and I made a file. Then what I did was I took that and I put it into my library, which at the top of here, how do I get rid of that? Anyway, at the top you will see that there is these are all my files. So I put them into a file into the software itself, and I just did a drag and drop. These are all the fabrics that are in my bundle. So now, I don't know how to get rid of that stupid thing up there, but that's okay. So this is the fabric. And if I click back out now, I've lost my, I got to get out of here. I can't find my X button. Oh no. Okay, just let me move. Maybe just a minute. I'm going to move this down. There we go. Okay, across the top here. Now I'm going to move this up here because it's just interfering. The background of everything is interfering with my. Okay, let's get out of there. I've got stuff on my screen that's interfering here. Oh, sorry. Am I still there?
Yeah, you're still there, but what we're seeing is
Yeah.
the Zoom launch thing.
Yep. And I just clicked something. I was my Zoom is over top.
Just hang on to the top of the Zoom in the white part and just drag it to your left or right. There you go.
Oh, good grief. Okay.
Okay, you want to get rid of that Zoom screen?
Yep.
Okay, I was just going to say click on the red dot.
Yep. Sorry about that. Okay. So now here I can see in here is my library. Come on. I can't get out of there for
You're
some.
already in the library. You just have to X out of that. There you go.
Yeah, X out of your FQP. See the X in the blue line below? See where it says FQ print 10? And in that,
Go all the way to the right.
go over to your, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you can just click on the X if you don't want that up there.
Yeah, it's covering. There we go. Yep.
There you go.
Okay, so that's where I got my my fabrics. So what I've done is from Stephen's, the file from Stephen's retreat, I have a ribbon star block here. And what I've done is I have taken this design here, and from the side places is from the menu section and everything like that, it has, I've been able to take and use the trace feature to trace my block. And what I've done is I've made a copy of it and I've put it in the diagonal, or what do they call it, on point position. Now from that, what I did was I took that, and from all of the features of this program or this software, I've taken it, and now what I've done is I have done a trace feature. That trace feature will take that particular design for that particular block, and what it will do is it will trace it. Then if I do one more step, and I will take it and take it apart. So it will take this design, and you can see on this part right here, I have taken it and I've ungrouped everything. So it is all in pieces. And you can see below here where all my pieces now, I can take them and move them wherever I want. The nice thing about this is it has an undo button. So whatever I do, I can undo it. I've also made this one in the on point version. From there, I have taken, and in the next one, I have placed my colors into each one of those sections. And how I achieved that, okay, how I achieved that is I clicked on a little button here, and it brings up my fabrics. And in there, I have my seaside. And from here, I'm just going to move this over a little bit. Other way, Shirley. Okay. So what I've done, this is ridiculous. Okay.
Just click.
I'm missing part of my screen here. Okay, I just got to move this up here so I can get it back. There's other things that are interfering. So now each one of these blocks, I can pick my colors. So if I wanted this corner piece to be this fabric, it's going to go in there. And I just have to move this down now that I know what I'm doing here. So this is what I can put into that corner. I can change it just by clicking on another color. And I can position my fabrics wherever I want them to be. So if I want that particular piece, and that's how I got my fabrics into this particular design. So now once I did that, then I am going to click out of here, and I am going to go in to my next piece where I clicked on all those colors. The other thing is that the program, the software itself, you can actually use a little eyedropper which will pick up any color in the fabric that you've put in there. And just by using the software, you can pick a color that's in your fabric and it will pick up that color and place it wherever you want. So now the next step is I wanted to place it on a background, or I wanted background and everything. So in the next section, what I did was I made 2 squares and I put this is my background or my color that I want to put my block on, and this is my border. And that's what I came up with. Just by going into the software, clicking on a few buttons, and I came up with this quilt design. I hope everybody is following along. And I could go through all the steps, but the thing is that there's so many ways to get things to work the way you want them to, that each one of the places on top and on the side and everything like that, it takes you the same place. You can even right click and do stuff. So to go through all that, it would take much too long. But you can see how I can come up with something that helps me not being able to place my colors and get the look I want. If I took one of these sections here and put in a color that was the same as my background, it's not going to give me the look I want. So now the next one, in here, I have taken, I guess what they call the churn dash or whatever like that. And I've just done a drag and drop from the file that I created called Stephen's Retreat. And I just dragged and dropped them into the software. Here you can see I've done the trace feature. And here, if I highlight this, you can see that I have all my pieces separated just by doing that trace feature and doing the release compound path, which separates all my colors. So I have all my pieces separated, and I'm not worried about size right now. All I'm worried about is the visual that I can achieve using the tools in the software. I worry about size later. And that comes particularly from the pattern itself. So that's where I get where I want to put my lights and darks and my mediums. So now what I discovered by doing the things that I've shown you, by separating all those pieces, in the next section, I have come up and made myself a paper piecing pattern. I have the blocks, I've labeled them. So in this particular block, I have been able to come up with a paper piecing pattern. This is the middle section is my A block, and this is what I will make my paper piecing pattern out of. And I've placed certain colors in there, and again, I can change them. And I've got this grouped right now, but I can ungroup it and go in and change my colors and everything. So that's how I achieved that. I'm just going to group this again so I don't mess up. So I take basic block patterns that are free from the internet, from Pinterest or whatever. They're free. And I just dissect them like that and come up with a paper piecing project. Here is one that I've done, which is a stripy star by Wombat, which is a free pattern or free block. It consists of 4 different sections. Here I've taken and just did a drag and drop, brought the block itself in. And I have here in this design right here, I have made my pieces, and you can see I can separate them. And it's actually much easier than what you think. I have all my pieces in the colors. Now, I have taken that and I've put it together. I've made 4 copies of that, and I put it together to see what my design is going to look like. I know that I don't have to cut my fabrics, make one block, and wonder what it's going to look like when it's all put together. So now over here we have, here is my paper piecing block. But I'm going to go back to number 11. Okay, so if I go to this one right here, I'm just going to click and put these all back together. What you're seeing is the pieces all apart. I'm just sliding them back in by selecting them. So with my paper piecing, you have to think in reverse. So how do I make my brain work with that? I am going to wake up, Walter. I'm going to take this whole design and I'm going to group it all together. And I know this is probably something that some of you may not have known, but what I can do, and I'm going to move over so I can take my group design over, and I'll zoom in on this particular portion so that you can see that I have my numbers here. This is the side you sew on. Your brain has to work backwards. So what do you need to know is that this is what it's going to look like from, just let me get this right here. This is what it's going to look like from the wrong side of your fabric. Your fabrics are going to be placed on there according to the colors. But now if I take this and right click, I can flip it. And that is going to reverse my whole pattern piece. So when I'm working with foundation paper piecing, I now have a reverse image that is going to be what it's going to look like in the end. I don't have to try to reverse my brain. So if I click on undo, you can see the numbers are showing up the right way. Go back again and you can flip it horizontally or vertically, whichever you want. But I now have the reverse. I don't have to, my brain doesn't have to reverse. I can now look at this and see that my pattern is reversed. So now there I have put all my pieces together. So what benefit does that give me is that I can come up with any design and I can reverse it, put my numbers in wherever I want them, just take and drag them over and put them however I want to start my paper piecing. I have a setting on here that's not doing what I want, so we'll just undo all that. It looks complicated, but it isn't. Now I'm just going to check and make sure. Okay. So that is how basically I work with them. The other thing that I can do is now this I am going to click on it and ungroup it. And I now have all my pieces separated again. So in paper piecing, you always have seam allowances. I'm just going to select this, put it back. Okay, I'm going to flip it horizontally so I can see it. This is the way your pattern's going to look like. I now separate my pieces, and each one of these pieces is my fabric in the color I want it to be. What does each one of these pieces have? What it doesn't have is it doesn't have seam allowance. And basically paper piecing is this piece of fabric, seam allowances added.
Yeah.
And so now with the program, and I'm going to move this over now that I know where to get to my pieces, there is another section that is called offset. So what I can do, I need to add, and of course the sizes aren't right in this, but what I can do is through the offset, I can set my seam allowance to 2 or 1/4 inch. I'm going to click on the next button, and you can't see it right there. My corner limit, I want to increase it all the way so I get a point. And it's not quite working there, but anyway, I'm going to set the color here just so you can see that. I'm going to change my line color here and the thickness so you can see what it's done. And for some reason, Silhouette did an update to their software, which is always free. Their updates are free, and so the last little while they have come up with new software. Oops, just a minute here. I'm going to undo here for a sec. Undo. Let's just take that and delete it. And now I'm going to do that over again. And I'm just going to check one of my settings here because I think I've gone into my grid. And okay. And things didn't work the same way as they normally do. So now I'm going to go back into that offset panel. That's not what I wanted. I want the offset. So I'm going to do an offset at 1/4 inch. And does that look better? No, it doesn't. So I don't know why the program is doing that. It doesn't normally do it. But when I click apply, I'll make my lines bigger again. So that's what I'm going to get. And normally it doesn't show up like this. Normally it gives an exact outline. So now I have my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And what I could do as well is I could plot out my points and make my own piece at 1/4 inch, but I need extra. So what I would do is I would go back in to my offset, and I'm just going to draw a triangle here. It gives you the option of drawing a triangle. Whoops, I have to change one other setting. And I'm going to go in and, whoops. See, I was starting to draw a triangle. My software is just not doing what I want it to do. Oh, come on. Anyway, I'm going to draw a triangle. I'm just going to select that. And just by the tools on the side, this one is going to come out, and there is my triangle. And I am going to, do an offset on this. And again, so I'll click my offset. I have my triangle selected. And move my, nope. Okay. I want my seam allowance to be 2.50. And my corner limit, I'm going to increase it. And now this is what it normally looks like. So then I will click apply. So now you can see, hopefully, from this triangle, it has given me 1/4 of an inch around it. To add extra to my pieces, all I do is I increase that. I will do another offset and offset, and I want it to be half of that. And you can see where I'm adding extra to my piece. One piece, I have my fabric. The black lines are my sewn lines. The first outside line is my 1/4 inch cutting line. And the other outside line is my excess fabric. And I can change all of these colors any way I want, all in this software. Now I'm going to open up another tab and just give you one more little thing. Over here, you have all these little buttons. I can make squares. I can make any shape I want. I can go in here and pick any of these shapes. But the thing is that when you click on them and you take them into there, you can come up with any shape or size that you like. Make it as big as you want, as small as you want. I'm just going to, and you can also undo at any time. They do have, Silhouette Studio does have a, Stephen, I've lost the word for it, 3D printer. That's what it is. They do have 3D printers and stamps that you can use this software in. So I haven't given you, I'm going to select this, I'm going to delete. I've gone over very quickly what this program can do, but there is so much in this that you can make just by using the features in this, that for the price I paid for it, and I've learned a lot of things and I'm still learning, but the price I paid for is much more affordable for me And I don't have to pay for any upgrades that or updates that they do. Nothing is extra once you've got to the business edition of this program. I'm going to go in here. I'm now going to show you how, if I select these two things here, I have my spacing set at 1 inch. So now going into the other section, I'm going to pick my triangle again, and I'm going to plot my points. And no matter what I do, it's going to stay, and it will make a perfect triangle. And that perfect triangle is going to be exactly 1 inch, 1 inch, and the diagonal, or 2 inches, I guess, because I've made a little bigger. You can change the size anytime. At the top of the screen, there's all the ways you can change it. I can change the size just by clicking here and going in and changing my width. So my triangle now is going to have the two sides at 4 inches. And I can lock that, and it's not going to change size no matter what I do with it. So now the next thing is, supposing I'm going to make a 4-inch square. Whoops, not what I wanted to do. I'm going to move this off to the side, and I'm going to make a 4-inch square. Oops. Let's delete all that. So I want to make a square that is 4 inches. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to make my width 4 inches. And this is the last thing that I'm going to be showing you what it can do. And well, I'll make it 5 inches. That's what I put in there. Of course, I'm messing around. So here's my 5-inch square. I'm now going to take, and I'm going to rotate that, because here I'm going to show you how I determine what my how to get the distance from there to there on a square when you're doing an on point. So I'm going to rotate that by 45 degrees. Bring this back. So here I have my square, and my square would have what's around it. So we're going to now, if I wanted to decide how do I get the distance from here to make to fill in for my triangle around here. So I'm going to take and click on my tool, and I am going to draw a triangle. I'm going to place it, select it, and this isn't exactly the way it's supposed to be. But now I can, if I look at this, if I would have made this correctly, this is going to be, I just have to change a setting in here. It's messing up. If I have those two selected, it's going to make things a little difficult. I have to delete this because it's not the size I want. So you can see I've now eliminated, and I'm going to go back to making my triangle. I'm going to click on this point, bring it over to here, draw my triangle there and up to there. And now when I click on this, I now have a piece that I can flip this. And I know now, whoop, lost my undo button.
Yep.
Okay. So now I'm going to move this and change the angle and everything. And you now can see that I've got my triangle. And that should give me a rough idea of the size I need in order to place it on there. And if I click on it, it should give me the size. Now, I know some of this hasn't been working for me. It worked the other day when I was working on it. So there are so many things that this program can do for the price of it and everything. And I just play with it. I still have so much to learn in it, but I've learned the basics to do the things I want, to achieve placing my colors, to find out where my colors are going to look the best. And if I didn't have enough background fabric, I can even figure out how much fabric I need just by taking those pieces and putting them on. You can do practically anything. And some of the other features, you can make notes on it. And when you save your file, you can save it to your computer, or you can save it to the software itself. I save all my designs to my computer because sometimes, and a lot of things are user error, not the program. It's the user that's doing it. So that's about it. So I'll come back to myself. I know it's been a little rough. It's been a little rough going there, but again, it's a learning experience. But EQ8, I found I could not afford to achieve the things I wanted, and the same thing with the other softwares that I couldn't do it. So I know probably there's a lot of questions and everything like that. So and because I'm trying to do it quickly, and my software was not exactly cooperating with me, and it wasn't me, or it wasn't the software, it was me. So I hope that helped. And if anybody has any questions, you can ask them.
Well, just before people ask questions, Shirley, I think we all understand that when you're doing something like this, when you're doing it as a presentation, your technology is always going to fail with it.
Yeah,
And it is a program too, like any program, that you have to play with to use it. But I think what you gave us is a very good overview of the potential of this for designing quilts. It's something that's at a much more reasonable price than EQ8. I own EQ8 and it's expensive as hell. And you want to know something? I hardly ever use it. And I could see myself using something like this more readily than EQ8?
It's a program or software that is, I believe it's well priced for what you can do with it. But the thing is that when I was going into the program itself, or when I was doing my screen share before, I didn't have the little messages at the top and
Yeah.
the bottom.
Yep. Yeah. I
And
know
so
exactly what you mean.
yeah, and it was like that threw me. That really threw me. It's like, okay, well, why isn't it coming up the way I did it in the first place? So
Well,
yeah,
we were expecting you in 45 minutes to teach us everything that one needs to know about
yeah,
that program, because that's impossible to do. Like I said, you gave us a very good overview, and you gave us something to think about and possibly try ourselves. But we do have some questions. Lisette has a question. Go ahead, Lisette.
Hi there, Shirley. Thank you so much for this presentation. My question is regarding how the file is saved to your computer. Is it saved as a Windows document, a PDF? What type of file extension is it?
you can save it to a PDF. You can save it as an SVG. It defaults to a Silhouette Studio 3 file, I believe. But you can save it as a PDF, you can save it as a JPEG, you can save it, because when you click on it, it gives you the option. Now I'm working with a Mac, but the program itself is both Windows and like PC and Mac compatible. But it does give you the option. You can save anything, PDF, JPEG, PNG, SVG. I think it even might save it as DXF, which is, I do believe a DXF is compatible with some of your design software for working with quilting patterns and things like that.
And I did put a link in the chat to the software as well, if anybody's interested for downloading it, the free version. Okay, so Gail has a question.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Shirley. I just want to say first, thank you for this. I remember when I was watching the demonstration on the Fat Quarter Shop about 8. The whole time I kept sitting there, I have a Scan and Cut DX,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you use that software a lot. And the whole time I was watching, I kept thinking to myself, you know, all those squares are in that software.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you could do that. But I couldn't wrap my head around how to download the fabric, because that's where I have a disconnect with trying to put together a pattern. It's like I don't need 15 different or 20 or however many different SKUs come in a fat quarter, you know, to make a quilt.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a problem with trying to put colors together.
Right. And
so I couldn't do that. But I just want to say thank you, because you were able to show me that I could scan those fabrics.
yes, and like I have downloaded the or I've got the for the Scan and Cut. I've got software, but I haven't really looked into it. But that's one of the things, is that even the Cricut software, I do believe that the software for Cricut is internet based, where you have to be on the internet to do some of those things. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but
you do it.
Yeah, with Cricut, is it you have to be on the internet to do your designing? Is that correct?
Yes, you do.
Correct.
So, and that's why I prefer the Silhouette to the Silhouette software over the Cricut software. And if I was going to buy a machine, I would probably, my next one, rather than the Cameo, would probably be the Scan and Cut. But of course, I can't afford it. I can dream. But again, yes, all those little boxes and everything in there, you can design in Cricut, you can design in the Scan and Cut and put your own colors in there. And with the Silhouette, that's why I like, you can take a screenshot of your fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
You can, if you scan your fabrics in to your computer, and I wish I would have known that a long time ago, because all the fabrics I bought, I could have just scanned them in. And actually, these are the fabrics that I used. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go on particular, you can go on the sites and they will have the little, I can't remember what you call them, but you can take a screenshot of the particular fabric.
Yeah. So I appreciate that, because I kept sitting here thinking, I should be able to do that without hawking up another $300 to $500.
Right.
And you know, because I've already paid for the Scan and Cut, and that was almost $300. So, you know,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate what you said.
I'm glad you found interest in it. And anyone who has worked with the software or in Cameo or Silhouette, Cricut or whatever like that, they should all basically work the same. And the other thing I found too is if I take a basic, now if you look behind me here, this is a all paper piece, and the thing that that I liked about it was I could take shots of my pictures and put them wherever, but being able to see things the way they're going to look when you finish it. So I could have scanned all these here into my computer as I made them, and like I have extra blocks made.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, I know, and when I learned foundation paper piecing, that was the other thing. Like, I'm really into foundation paper piecing, but with the using the method that I use by not stitching through the paper and using freezer paper, I can press all my seams open. And that is a paper pieced with pressing the seams open. And if anyone is interested or they need help with any of the software, and that I'm not an expert, but I know that there are a lot of things that are basically similar. And if you want to see how I do paper piecing and stuff like that, I press my seams open. And the accuracy with foundation paper piecing is amazing.
So are there any other questions for Shirley right now? No, we're good. Well, Shirley, you've given us a lot to think about, almost mind-boggling, but you know, it's something that, you know, you work with it, you learn how to manipulate it for your purposes. And as you said, there are many different ways to tackle the same problem within the same software, or even with other pieces of software that are maybe more in your budget. You don't have to necessarily drop $500 on a piece of software when you can get something that'll do for your purposes. So thank you so much for this today, Shirley. You gave us a lot to think about, and that was great.